The Galactic Council's judgment. The vast expanse of space seemed endless, a dark sea dotted with stars and distant galaxies. At the heart of this cosmic domain, the Galactic Council sat in their towering citadel, floating high above the surface of a forgotten moon. The council chambers were an impressive structure of gleaming metal and energy, an awe-inspiring sight built from the combined knowledge and power of countless species across the galaxy. In this sacred hall, decisions were made that affected the fate of entire civilizations. But today, their attention was on one small planet, Earth. For centuries, Earth had been a quiet and insignificant speck in the vast cosmos. The inhabitants of the planet, known as humans, had long been seen as primitive, small, fragile creatures that lacked the true power and potential of the galaxy's other advanced species. The Council, composed of the most powerful and enlightened races, had watched Earth for millennia, but they never believed the humans could ever amount to anything more than just another minor species. At the center of the council chamber, a large round table floated in space, surrounded by representatives of various alien races. Their faces were diverse, some with many eyes, others with tentacles or wings, each species an embodiment of their unique worlds and cultures. These beings had shaped the galaxy with their vast technologies and ancient wisdom, and they had long believed themselves to be the supreme beings of the universe. As the representatives gathered for today's session, their conversation focused on one thing: Earth. The humans had recently begun to show signs of progress. Their technology was advancing rapidly, and their military capabilities were growing stronger every day. There was even talk of humans exploring the stars and making contact with other alien species. But to the Council, this was a minor inconvenience, not a threat. "We have observed Earth for centuries," said the representative from the Signer, an insectoid species known for their cold logic. "Their advances are nothing more than a natural evolution. They will never reach the level of power we possess. They are a fleeting spark in the grand scheme of the galaxy." "I agree," replied the Kylus delegate, a tall, elegant being with translucent skin. "Their attempts to harness advanced technology are still primitive. It's clear that they have no understanding of true power. Why should we waste resources on them? They are no more than ants in the shadow of giants." The words echoed in the chamber, and a wave of agreement swept through the representatives. For centuries, the Council had seen Earth as little more than a curiosity, an insignificant world that would never threaten the stability of the galaxy. They had passed judgment on humanity countless times, always believing that humans were too weak to rise against them. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room, displaying Earth's recent technological advancements. Humans had begun to experiment with space travel, creating machines capable of reaching the stars. They had weapons that could destroy entire cities, and their military forces were starting to form alliances. Yet despite all this, the Council still saw no reason to be concerned. "We should monitor them closely, yes," said the Council leader, a being known as Varkesh, who had lived for thousands of years. "But we must not be afraid of them. Their strength is weak, their power inconsequential. We will simply observe their growth for now, but let us not waste time or energy thinking they are a threat." There was a brief silence as the other representatives nodded in agreement. The humans, despite their potential, were simply too far behind in the grand scale of things. They had no idea what true power was. But one representative, a new member to the Council from the distant planet of Soth, was not so sure. Sothians were a secretive and ancient race, and their representative, named Araxis, had seen civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. Araxis had witnessed firsthand how many species, once underestimated, had proven to be far more capable than anticipated. "I have a different opinion," Araxis said, his voice calm but firm. "I believe we are making a grave mistake by underestimating these humans. While they are indeed young in their evolution, their tenacity and resourcefulness cannot be ignored. They possess a strength unlike anything we've seen before." The room fell silent as the other representatives turned their gaze toward Araxis. This was the first time in centuries that anyone had suggested humanity could be more than a minor threat. "Your concern is noted," Varkish said, his voice dripping with skepticism. "But you must understand that we have ruled the galaxy for millennia. We have seen countless species come and go. None of them have been able to challenge our dominance. Why would these humans be any different?" Araxis paused, his dark eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "Because, unlike many of the other species you speak of, these humans are driven by something far stronger than mere survival. They are driven by a fierce will to protect their home, to fight for what they believe in, no matter the odds. This is not a quality we have seen in most other races." Varkish chuckled, dismissing the notion. "They will fall, just like all the others. We will deal with them when the time comes." With that, the council moved forward with their decision. The humans were to remain under observation. They would not be granted membership in the Galactic Union, nor would they be allowed to interact freely with other advanced civilizations. Earth would be left alone, and humanity would continue to be watched from a distance. But what the Galactic Council didn't know was that their judgment of Earth, of humanity, was about to set off a chain of events that would change the course of history. The humans were not just going to sit idly by. They were about to show the galaxy what true power was, Earth's hidden power. The decision had been made. The Galactic Council, in its infinite wisdom, had decided that humanity was not a threat. They believed Earth's inhabitants were nothing more than a fleeting, primitive species that could be watched, but not taken seriously. The Council's decision was clear. Humanity would be left alone, under observation but not allowed to participate in galactic affairs. However, there was one thing the Council had not considered: the sheer resilience and resourcefulness of humanity. Back on Earth, the leaders of the human race were well aware of the Council's judgment. They had seen the Galactic Council's decision as nothing more than a cold dismissal of everything humanity had fought for over the centuries. It was a blow to their pride, a direct insult to everything they had built. But it was also a wake-up call, a signal that they had been underestimated by forces far beyond their understanding. In secret, deep beneath the surface of Earth, a team of the world's best scientists, engineers, and military strategists had been working on something extraordinary. It was a project so advanced that even the most forward-thinking minds of Earth could barely comprehend its full potential. For decades, humanity had been preparing for a moment like this, when the galaxy would turn its back on them, and humanity would need to prove that it was not to be underestimated. "We will not be silenced," General Carter said, his voice firm as he addressed the team of military and scientific leaders gathered around the round table in a hidden underground bunker. "The Council believes we're nothing more than ants under their boot. They think they can just dismiss us like we're nothing. But they're wrong." The team of scientists and engineers exchanged glances, their faces a mix of determination and quiet anticipation. They had spent countless hours designing the most advanced weaponry and technology Earth had ever seen, all in preparation for this moment. But it was more than just technology. It was humanity's indomitable spirit that would fuel this revolution. "We've been building it for years," Dr. Elizabeth Tran, the head of the scientific division, added, her voice calm but filled with conviction. "It's not just about the weapon. It's about showing the galaxy what we're capable of. We've mastered the art of survival, of fighting against all odds. And we've built something to make sure that when the time comes, they'll understand what it truly means to face humanity." General Carter nodded. "The Galactic Council may think we're weak, but we'll show them that we're anything but." The weapon was a marvel, a supercarrier unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. A massive ship capable of devastating entire fleets with its advanced technology, it was not just a symbol of Earth's military might, but a statement of humanity's potential. It was equipped with energy weapons, cloaking devices, and advanced propulsion systems. More than just a ship, it was a mobile fortress, a testament to human innovation and determination. And its purpose was simple: to send a clear message to the Galactic Council that humanity would not be ignored. The supercarrier, which had been codenamed Indomitable, was unlike any vessel the Council had encountered. It had been designed not only to challenge the power of alien forces, but to use tactics and strategies that no other species in the galaxy had ever considered. It was the culmination of years of research, a project kept so secret that even many world leaders didn't know of its existence until now. As the final components of the Indomitable were being completed, a series of communications began to flood in from various factions around the globe. Nations that had once been divided by politics and warfare now found common ground in the face of a greater threat: the refusal of the Galactic Council to acknowledge Earth's power. Leaders who had long been at odds came together, realizing that this was not a time for division but unity. The stakes were too high. It was during this moment of unity that General Carter made a bold move. He called a global summit, bringing together the leaders of every nation on Earth. It was time to make their stand. The Indomitable would not just be used to defend Earth. It would be their way of reaching out to the stars and making it clear that humanity was not to be underestimated. "We don't need their approval," General Carter declared during the summit, his voice strong and unwavering. "The Galactic Council believes they are the rulers of this galaxy, but they are wrong. We are the masters of our own fate. We will show them that we are not some insignificant species. We will prove that humanity is capable of far more than they could ever imagine." As the words echoed throughout the summit, there was a renewed sense of purpose among Earth's leaders. Humanity had been dismissed by the Galactic Council, but it was time for them to show just how wrong the Council had been. They had a plan, a weapon, and most importantly, the will to fight for their survival. The Indomitable was launched, its engines roaring to life as it soared into space, carrying with it humanity's hopes and dreams. The galaxy was about to learn the truth. Humans were not weak. They were not prey. They were predators, and they would make sure the Galactic Council understood that. As the ship ascended through the atmosphere, the first signs of the storm brewing in the galaxy began to take shape. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming, but it would soon be too late to stop it. Humanity had declared its strength, and now the universe would witness the power of Earth's might. The first strike. The stars outside the window of the Indomitable seemed so peaceful, so serene. But on Earth, the air was thick with anticipation. Humanity's supercarrier, the result of years of hidden effort, now soared in the depths of space, its engines humming like a heartbeat. It was Earth's response to the Galactic Council's dismissal. They had underestimated humanity, and now it was time to show them what that mistake would cost. General Carter stood before the massive control room of the Indomitable, his hands clenched into fists. His crew, a mix of military personnel and scientists, stood around him. The ship had already completed its final preparations, and the countdown to their first strike had begun. It wasn't just about military force. It was a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity was not to be ignored. "Everyone, you know the plan." General Carter's voice rang through the control room. "We hit them fast. We hit them hard. And we send a message they'll never forget. No more hiding in the shadows. This is our fight now." He turned to Dr. Tran, the lead scientist who had helped design the Indomitable. She was staring at a series of screens, her fingers rapidly typing commands. "Status update." Dr. Tran looked up from the screens, her face a mask of concentration. "The targeting system is locked in. We have the coordinates for the Council's fleet in the Andromeda sector. They have no idea we're coming. Our attack will be swift, over before they even know what hit them." General Carter nodded, his eyes narrowing. The Galactic Council thought they were untouchable, safe behind their fleets and technology. But they hadn't anticipated the sheer determination of humanity. With the Indomitable, Earth would prove that the Council's arrogance would be their downfall. The first strike would be a surprise, aimed at one of the Council's smaller outposts, a station that had been monitoring Earth's activities for years. The humans had studied this station carefully, learning its vulnerabilities. The attack would be a show of strength, a warning. The Indomitable was fast, equipped with stealth technology, and the Galaxy wouldn't see it coming. "Launch the strike," General Carter ordered. The ship's weapon systems hummed to life, and Dr. Tran activated the cloaking device. The Indomitable vanished from view, a ghost in the expanse of space. As the supercarrier moved silently through the darkness, the crew held their breath. It was almost too quiet, but this was the moment they had been waiting for. The Galactic Council had ignored humanity for too long. Now the Council would feel the wrath of Earth. The station in the Andromeda sector came into view. It was a fortress-like structure, floating like a silent sentinel in space. The station was heavily guarded, with a fleet of alien ships in its vicinity. It wasn't the Council's most prized outpost, but it was still a significant target, a symbol of their power. The Indomitable slowed as it neared the station. Carter watched the view screen intently, his heart racing. "Fire," he said, his voice steady but carrying an edge of resolve. Without warning, the Indomitable unleashed a powerful burst of energy. The station's shields, already weakened by the stealth approach, flared up briefly before collapsing under the intensity of the blast. The energy weapon ripped through the station's core, sending a chain reaction through its systems. The station, once a monument to the Galactic Council's might, disintegrated in a brilliant explosion. The flash of light could be seen for light years, a stark reminder to any who might be watching. As the explosion echoed in the void, General Carter allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The first strike had been a success, but that was just the beginning. The message had been sent. The Galactic Council would now know that humanity was not just a species to be watched. The Council responds. The shockwave from the Indomitable's first strike echoed through the cosmos, reaching even the furthest corners of the galaxy. The destruction of the Galactic Council's outpost was not just a military success, it was a declaration of war. Humanity's actions had shattered the illusion of invincibility that the Council had built over eons. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, high within a massive space station orbiting a distant star, the mood was anything but calm. A massive circular chamber filled with representatives from various species flickered with holographic projections, depicting the latest news. The destruction of the outpost was everywhere. The voices of council members murmured in confusion and fear as they watched the footage of the explosion. Councillor Strahl, an ancient and wise representative from the Vortax species, stood at the head of the chamber. His elongated alien face was tight with worry. His species had been one of the first to colonize the stars, and they had long been the architects of the Council's power. Now, they were on the verge of a crisis. Who dares to attack us? Strahl's voice was deep and reverberating, the weight of centuries of power in his tone. How could we have missed this threat? We watched Earth for years, watched them grow, watched them struggle. They were nothing more than an insignificant species. How could they have advanced so quickly? Another figure, a sharp-eyed representative from the Aquari, a species known for their calculated diplomacy, spoke up. It wasn't just an attack. Strahl. This was a warning. The humans are making their move, and they're not afraid of us. We've underestimated them for too long. I suggest we take immediate action. The room fell silent. There had been no war in the galaxy for millennia, and the idea of such a thing was both terrifying and alien to the Council. War meant loss of life, loss of resources, and chaos. Yet the destruction of the outpost had left the Council with no choice but to respond. Strahl, his face still tight with anger, turned to the holographic map that displayed Earth's coordinates. "Prepare a fleet," he commanded. "We will show the humans the price of their insolence. No species dares to defy the Galactic Council and live to tell the tale." Across the galaxy, Earth's leaders were already preparing for the inevitable counterattack. They knew the Council would respond. The question was, how would they face it? On the bridge of the Indomitable, General Carter and his crew monitored the situation closely. Dr. Tran stood beside him, her face a picture of both determination and apprehension. They had done the unthinkable, struck at the heart of the Galactic Council's power. But they knew that the worst was yet to come. The Council would not let this act of defiance go unanswered. The supercarrier was humanity's weapon, but it was not invincible. "We've made our move," General Carter said, his voice low but firm. "But they'll come for us. The Council won't sit back and watch. We need to be ready." "We are," Dr. Tran replied, her fingers flying across the console as she adjusted the supercarrier systems. "The Indomitable has been outfitted with the most advanced technology we've ever seen. But we've also prepared a few surprises for the Council." Her words hung in the air, a reminder that humanity had no intention of being cowed by the overwhelming forces of the Galactic Council. They had been underestimated, yes, but they would not be taken lightly again. Just as General Carter turned to address the rest of the crew, a warning alarm sounded across the bridge. A series of blips appeared on the radar, alien ships approaching at high speed. The Galactic Council's fleet was coming. "They're here," Carter muttered. "All hands, prepare for battle." "This is it." The crew of the Indomitable rushed into action, securing stations and activating the ship's weapons. The supercarrier's sleek, armored hull was ready to face the incoming threat. In the distance, the Council's fleet loomed, an imposing armada of ships, their hulls adorned with symbols of their power. They were here to teach humanity a lesson. But the Indomitable was not like any ship the Council had ever seen. Humanity had been patient, gathering resources, perfecting technology, and learning from the mistakes of their past. They had built the Indomitable for this very moment, to stand against overwhelming odds and fight for their survival. General Carter stood tall, looking at the fleet through the ship's massive windows. "We've got one chance at this," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "They may have numbers, but we have the will to win. We're not fighting just for Earth. We're fighting for the future of our species." As the first of the alien ships opened fire, the battle for Earth's survival began. The Indomitable rocketed forward, cloaking itself as it barreled into the midst of the Council's fleet. Laser fire filled the air, and the universe trembled at the might of humanity's power. This was only the beginning. Humanity had shown the Council its strength, and now they would show the galaxy that no one could ever dismiss them again. The tide turns. The battle had erupted across the galaxy with the speed of a lightning strike. Humanity's Indomitable had plunged into the heart of the Galactic Council's fleet with a ferocity and precision that had shocked even the most battle-hardened of the Council's commanders. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's mightiest empire found itself on the defensive, unable to crush what it had once considered a mere pest. General Carter stood at the command center of the Indomitable, his gaze locked onto the chaotic battlefield unfolding outside the ship's reinforced windows. His knuckles were white as he gripped the rail, the ship rocking under the strain of enemy fire. He didn't flinch. In his mind, there was no turning back now. The battle had begun, and humanity's fate would be decided here and now. Dr. Tran, standing by his side, quickly read through the data coming in from the ship's weapons and shields. "We've sustained minor damage to the outer hull, but we're holding strong. The Council's ships are retreating, but they're not finished. They're regrouping." Carter nodded, not taking his eyes off the view screen. The massive armada of the Council was retreating, but it wouldn't be long before they returned in full force, this time with an even greater vengeance. The stakes were high, but humanity's spirit had been unleashed. Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored. It was a power to be reckoned with. "Alert all divisions," General Carter ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We've pushed them back, but the real battle is about to begin. They won't stop until they've wiped us out. Prepare for a counteroffensive." As the crew scrambled to carry out his orders, Carter's mind raced. He knew that every minute they had gained in this initial confrontation was precious. The Indomitable was humanity's first step toward showing the galaxy their true power, but it couldn't do this alone. Earth had to stand united, not just in this moment, but in the moments to come. Every human on every corner of the planet would need to feel the urgency of this struggle. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Galactic Council's forces were already regrouping. The Council's leaders, no longer underestimating humanity's capabilities, had ordered their most formidable fleets to launch an all-out counterattack. Strahl, the Vortak representative, stood before the Council chambers, his alien features hardened with anger. Humanity has made its move, and we will respond in kind. Their insolence will not go unpunished. We have already suffered losses, but now we will show them what true power is. The other members of the Galactic Council exchanged looks, uncertainty hanging in the air. The loss of the outpost had been a blow, but the destruction of so many ships in the initial battle had been a humiliation. For the first time, there was a sense of doubt among the galaxy's greatest powers. "I agree," the Aquari representative said, "but we must be careful. If we push too far, we risk pushing them into a corner they'll never return from. Humanity's power may be more than we've accounted for." Strahl silenced the room with a wave of his hand. "The time for caution is over. We've let Earth grow too strong. Now they will learn that no species can defy the Council." With that, the Council gave their final command. A massive fleet of the most advanced warships would converge on Earth. The outcome of this war would be decided by this final confrontation. Meanwhile, back on Earth, General Carter was preparing for the final confrontation. As the Indomitable moved deeper into enemy territory, the supercarrier's crew prepared for what was coming. The ship was armed to the teeth, but the sheer scale of the Council's forces was staggering. No amount of weaponry would be enough to defeat them all. Carter knew it was time for something more, something that would truly send a message to the entire galaxy. "Dr. Tran," Carter said, his voice low but resolute, "we need to activate the Indomitable's full offensive capabilities. All weapons, everything we got." Tran didn't hesitate. She pressed a sequence of commands on her console, and the ship's massive energy banks began to hum, powering up at a level never before seen. The Indomitable was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's resolve, and it would not be taken down without a fight. In the vastness of space, the battle between humanity and the Galactic Council was about to reach its boiling point. The Council's fleets, now converging on Earth's location, were about to face humanity's wrath in a way they had never expected. As Carter stood before the crew, the sense of destiny was palpable. He had no doubt that this would be a fight for Earth's survival, a battle that would decide whether humanity would rise as the galaxy's rulers or be crushed beneath the weight of the Council's power. But Carter didn't fear the outcome. He knew that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology. It was their unyielding will to survive. The Council had forgotten that. Now, it was time for them to learn. "We fight for Earth," General Carter said, his voice echoing through the ship's corridors. "We fight for humanity's place in this galaxy." As the Indomitable prepared for its final battle, the echoes of humanity's first strike still reverberated through the stars. The Galactic Council had made a grave mistake, and now they would pay the price. The tide of war was shifting, and it was humanity who would shape its future. The final assault. The Indomitable surged forward, its massive engines propelling it deeper into the heart of enemy space. General Carter stood at the command center, his eyes fixed on the galactic map as enemy ships began to appear on the radar. Humanity's supercarrier had become a beacon of hope, its size and firepower a testament to Earth's resolve. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, Carter knew that even the might of the Indomitable might not be enough to tip the scales. Behind him, the rest of the crew was hard at work. Dr. Tran, working furiously on the ship's weapon systems, had activated the final phase of the ship's offensive capabilities. The Indomitable was now equipped with a devastating new weapon, one that could potentially turn the tide of the entire battle. Humanity had made sure they were not merely defending their planet, but striking back with everything they had. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," Carter muttered, almost to himself. "We're fighting to make sure the galaxy remembers us." The distant stars in front of him blurred as the Indomitable entered battle range. The Galactic Council's fleet had arrived, a formidable armada composed of massive warships, advanced technologies, and ruthless military leaders. They were poised for the final, decisive confrontation. But what they didn't know was that humanity had already turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength: unity. Across Earth, the people were watching. They had heard of the attack, the battle, and the stakes. Now, they stood together, no longer divided by borders or nations, but united in one cause: to ensure humanity's future. The moment had arrived. Back on the Indomitable, the atmosphere was tense. Crew members hustled to their stations, their faces set with determination. As the enemy ships loomed closer, Dr. Tran finished her final adjustments on the ship's weapons. She turned to Carter with a grim look in her eyes. "We're ready, General." Carter nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. This wasn't just about defeating the Council. It was about sending a message that humanity was not to be underestimated. Earth had been ignored for too long, and now the universe would understand. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. "Activate the weapon," Carter ordered. The Indomitable's engines hummed louder as the new weapon came online. The ship's energy reserves began to stabilize, and a large, glowing core began to pulse at the heart of the ship. A bright beam of energy shot out from the core, cutting through the vast emptiness of space toward the Council's fleet. It was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. A single, concentrated beam of raw power capable of obliterating entire ships in an instant. The first Council warship, a colossal battleship adorned with symbols of their empire, didn't stand a chance. The beam slammed into its shield, and in a matter of seconds, the ship's defenses failed. The ship exploded in a fiery burst of light, scattering debris across the battlefield. The sheer force of the blast sent shockwaves through space, shaking the nearby ships. The remaining Council ships were thrown into disarray. They had expected a hard fight, but not this. Humanity's weapon had taken them by surprise, and now their greatest strength, their advanced technology, seemed fragile in the face of it. "Keep firing," General Carter shouted. "Take them down, one by one." The Indomitable's massive weapons array unleashed a torrent of fire upon the fleet. The glowing beams of energy struck ships with pinpoint accuracy, tearing through their hulls and reducing them to nothing more than wreckage. The once proud Galactic Council was crumbling before humanity's wrath. But the battle was far from over. The Council had called upon their most elite warriors, their flagship, a massive, ancient warship known as the Sentinel, to turn the tide in their favor. It was a ship unlike any other, and its captain, Admiral Valak, had earned a reputation for his ruthless efficiency. He wasn't going to let humanity's rebellion go unpunished. The Sentinel appeared from behind the debris of its fallen comrades, its massive guns primed and ready. As it accelerated toward the Indomitable, Admiral Valak's voice crackled through the comm system. "Humans," he said coldly, "you are brave to have come this far, but you will fall before the might of the Council. Your fight ends here." General Carter didn't flinch. "This fight is just beginning." The two ships clashed like titans in the cold of space. The Indomitable's shields flared as the Sentinel's heavy artillery pounded against it. The ship groaned under the pressure, but it held firm. Humanity had prepared for this moment, and they would not be so easily defeated. "We've got this," Carter said to Dr. Tran, his voice unwavering. She didn't respond with words, but instead activated the ship's countermeasures, releasing a barrage of defensive drones and missiles that slammed into the Sentinel's hull. The Council's flagship shuddered as its shields began to falter, but Admiral Valak was quick to retaliate. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was not a fight for mere survival anymore. Humanity had shown the galaxy their strength, but now they had to prove their dominance. The outcome of this war would shape the future of the galaxy, and General Carter knew that this final assault would determine whether Earth would stand tall or be crushed under the heel of the Council's oppression. With every pulse of the Indomitable's weapons, With every explosion that tore through the Council's ships, humanity sent a clear message. They would not be forgotten, and they would never be defeated. The fall of the Council. The final moments of the battle were fast approaching. The Indomitable and the Sentinel were locked in an intense struggle, their massive weapons colliding like the blows of ancient gods. The once proud forces of the Galactic Council had been thrown into disarray, unable to withstand the onslaught of humanity's relentless assault. General Carter stood at the command center, sweat beading on his forehead, but his eyes remained focused, sharp. Despite the chaos around him, he knew they were close. The end was within reach. All systems at maximum. Dr. Tran called from her station, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. We're on the verge of breaking through their shields. Carter's voice was calm but filled with determination. Hold them off a little longer. We need to finish this. Outside, the battle raged on. The Indomitable's massive guns fired once more, striking the Sentinel with a deafening roar. The force of the explosion sent ripples through space. As the mighty flagship began to stagger, the Sentinel's shields faltered and sparked under the pressure, its once imposing figure now appearing vulnerable. "We're getting through," shouted one of the crew members, his voice filled with excitement. "The Sentinel's shields are failing. Now's our chance." Carter nodded. "This is it, people. We push for the final blow. For Earth. For humanity." He turned to Dr. Tran. "Deploy the final strike." Without hesitation, Tran initiated the last phase of their most devastating weapon, the Indomitable's final attack. A pulse of energy shot from the supercarrier, concentrated and powerful, aimed directly at the Sentinel. The beam was so bright, so powerful, that it illuminated the surrounding space, casting shadows on the remaining Council ships. The beam connected with the Sentinel's weakened hull, and for a moment, there was complete silence in the vast emptiness of space. Then, with a catastrophic explosion, the Sentinel was torn apart. Its massive form disintegrated under the intensity of the blast, scattering debris in all directions. The flagship, the symbol of the Council's power, was no more. "Direct hit," one of the crew members shouted as the lights in the command center flickered. "It's gone. The Sentinel has been destroyed." Carter exhaled sharply, though he knew they hadn't won just yet. The remaining Council ships were still a threat, and the battle was far from over. But the destruction of the Sentinel was a game-changer. The heart of the Council's fleet had been shattered. The Council's remaining forces hesitated. They were stunned, unsure of how to proceed. Their flagship was gone. Their mightiest weapon was no more. But Admiral Valak was not one to surrender easily. His pride, however bruised, would not let him go down without a fight. Through the comm system, his voice crackled, full of rage and defiance. "You may have defeated the Sentinel, but you will not break the Council. We will never bow to you, humans." But Carter's voice, calm and unwavering, cut through Valak's anger. "You've misjudged us. This battle was never about power. It was about survival. We're not the ones who need to bow." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You thought you could crush us, but you've forgotten one thing. Humanity has always risen in the face of impossible odds, and we will continue to rise." As the battle continued, the remaining Council ships began to retreat, their commanders realizing that they had underestimated humanity. The loss of the Sentinel had broken the Council's resolve. Now, Earth's forces were pushing forward with a vengeance. Admiral Valak's voice faltered for the first time. "Retreat. All ships, retreat. We are no match for them." But it was too late. The retreat came too late, and the remaining Council ships found themselves outmatched and outgunned. The Indomitable and the remaining Earth forces were relentless. With each passing minute, the Council's fleet dwindled in numbers, and the tide of the war shifted. On Earth, the message was clear. Humanity had risen from the ashes, had proven their strength and resilience. The Galactic Council had forgotten the power of Earth, but now the universe knew. Humanity was no longer a forgotten backwater of the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. Back on the Indomitable, Carter stood silently, watching as the last of the enemy ships fled into the distance. The battle was over. Humanity had won. His voice broke the silence, full of quiet pride. "Prepare for landing," he said, his eyes never leaving the view screen. "We've won today. But tomorrow, we start rebuilding. The galaxy will remember what we've done here." As the Indomitable began its slow journey back to Earth, Carter knew that the true victory wasn't in the destruction of the Council's fleet. It wasn't in the weapons or the firepower. It was in humanity's unity, strength, and determination to never give up, no matter the cost. The Council had underestimated them, and now humanity stood as the galaxy's new power. The universe would never forget the lesson that had been taught that day. And as the Indomitable touched down on Earth's surface, Carter finally allowed himself a moment of peace. The fight was over, but the story of humanity's rise had just begun.